Now the training and the drilling of what duty means. Because the military is not in the least bit backward about saying, this is what you are going to be expected to do. This is how you do it. And this is what it might cost you. Isn't that interesting? Even in the military, they preach 3-point sermons. This is what it's expected of you. This is how you do it. This is what it might cost you. I know a lot of people join the military looking for a trade. My friend Dave, for example, wanted to become a commercial airline pilot. By the way, he loved the military so much he stayed in career. But Dave didn't know how to drive a car when I knew him, and he was flying F-16s. Now, I'm sure they just didn't give him the keys one day and say, take it out for a spin and see how you like it. They had to train him. They had to explain to him how to fly this plane. They explained to him what the plane could do. And then there came a point where they told him what they expected him to do in that plane. And Dave told me, he said, you know, the first time you kick in the afterburners, it's fun. I said, what part of it's fun? He says, when your eyes meet in the back of your head, it's fun. But then he started talking about when they told him what it could be like to die for your country. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But the military was not the least bit shy in telling my friend and so many other people, this is what's expected of you. This is how you do it. This is what it might cost. Do you know that Jesus Christ does the same thing to us? He says, this is what's expected of you. And you know what he said. Matter of fact, I'll tell you the first part of what he said. You tell me the rest. That way I'll know you're either listening to the sermons or reading the Word. This is what Jesus expects of you. Take up your cross. Oh, you were paying attention, weren't you? Take up your cross and follow me. That's pretty simple, isn't it? In other words, you do what I do. Now, the interesting thing is most of us are very lousy at doing that the first time. So he says, this is how you're going to learn to do it. Every day, follow me. Follow me not only in the big things, but follow me in the little things. I learned in the military that as far as the higher-ups are concerned, they don't consider anything to be a little thing. They expect how you make your bed to be a big thing. They expect how you march to be a big thing. They expect how your uniform looks to be a big thing. There is no little thing. This is how you do it. Do it. You know, when Jesus Christ says, forgive as you have been forgiven, you know he means that? He expects you to do that. When he says love your enemies, he expects you to do that. When through his apostles he says things like, bear one another's burdens, he expects you to do that. He tells you this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, and then he also tells us this is what it may cost you. You know, he told his disciples, he said, the time's going to come when men are going to persecute you, and when they kill you, they're going to think they're going to be doing God a favor. Now, can you imagine? These are the guys who were thinking that Jesus Christ was going to reign on earth, and they were going to be his cabinet, and all of a sudden Jesus is saying, hey, they're going to kill you. I wonder how many of them thought, how do you get out of this chicken outfit? Okay, let's get back to the military. They've just been told their duty. And the thing that rings in their ears is that it may cost them their life. Now, this is the part that has always amazed me. This is the part that has always blown me away. In talking to men and women who have served in the military, and I'm talking specifically now about active duty, I mean where they were in wars, they were shot at. Like our old friend Guy German, they were captured and put into prison camps. And you talk to these people afterwards, and you say things like, wasn't that absolutely hideous? And I don't know how many times they've drawn themselves up and they said, it was a privilege. It was a privilege. Now, you're talking to a guy right here, or you're looking at a man, you're not talking to him, you're looking at a guy who's never served a second in the military. But I like to think that I've got a semi-functioning brain. So how can these individuals go from just being carefree, normal schlubs like me to learning all of this military stuff, to being told about this duty? How do they get to the point where they go past the duty and they say it was a privilege? I don't know the exact step, but I will tell you this. At some point along the way, the sense of duty morphed into something else. The sense of duty morphed into passion and love. Maybe it was spending time with men and women who were going through the same garbage that they were. Maybe it was a study of history to see what people had fought and died for in the past to preserve what we've had in this country. I don't know. But at some point, what they had been said, this is what you have to do, have to do, have to do. Something changed and it became what they wanted to do, what they loved to do, and what they had a passion to do. You see, the military at one point told them, you may have to die. Now, I'll tell you what. I don't know about you, but I don't think dying is a whole lot of fun, particularly the way military people often face it. And for a person off the street to hear that, you might just say, no thanks. And I've always wondered what it is about a person who could go through all that garbage and then say, if I had been called upon to lay down my life for my country, I gladly would have done it. I've never been in the military. I don't understand it. But let me tell you what I do have some sense of connection with. All my life I've been around Christians. And the Christians that I've known have been people like you and me. They're average. They're normal. They're just folks. And a lot of them became Christians, not really understanding everything that would be expected of them. And then they started going to church, and they started reading their Bibles, and they started seeing things like, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And this is what God expects you to do every day. And He expects you to just be faithful every day, every day, every day. Oh, and by the way, your faith might cost you. It might cost you your family. It might cost you your friends. It might cost you your job. And in certain situations, it might cost you your life. And I've talked to young Christians who've read that, and they said, man, not me. But then I have been around other Christians who, even though they didn't know what they were getting into, stuck with it.